3 weeks ago, the research vessel Atlantic Explorer vanished without a trace, 60 miles southeast of Bermuda, in waters that have swallowed ships and planes for decades. Something pulled a state-of-the-art oceanographic vessel into the depths. The Coast Guard found no debris, no oil slick, no distress signal, just nothing. But what they didn't tell the public is that moments before the ship disappeared, sonar operators detected something massive rising from the ocean floor, something that shouldn't exist. You've heard of UFOs, unidentified flying objects, but tonight, we're diving into something far more terrifying, something that lurks beneath the waves, hidden in the crushing darkness of our deepest oceans. We're talking about unidentified, submerged objects, and what you're about to discover will make you question everything you thought you knew about what's really happening in our oceans. Welcome to the dark side of the Bermuda Triangle, where the real mystery isn't what disappears above the waves, but what emerges from below them. For over 70 years, governments have perfected the art of misdirection. While they've allowed us to debate flying saucers and little green men, they've kept us looking up at the sky. But the real activity has been happening beneath our feet, in the vast, unexplored depths of our oceans. Think about it. We've mapped less than 20% of our ocean floors. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deepest trenches of our own planet. And in that darkness, in those crushing depths where no human should survive, something has been watching us. The Bermuda Triangle covers roughly 500,000 square miles of ocean. That's an area larger than Texas, filled with underwater mountains, trenches that plunge deeper than Mount Everest is tall, and thermal vents that could power entire cities. It's the perfect place to hide something vast, something that doesn't want to be found. But here's what makes this different from every other Bermuda Triangle theory you've heard. This isn't about magnetic anomalies or methane gas. This isn't about portals to other dimensions or time warps. This is about something far more concrete, far more terrifying, and far more real. This is about an intelligence that has been using our oceans as a base of operations for decades. An intelligence that has technology so advanced, it makes our most sophisticated submarines look like toys. And an intelligence that has been in direct contact with world governments since the 1940s. The evidence is hiding in plain sight, buried in declassified documents, scattered across witness testimonies, and encoded in the very disappearances that have made this region infamous. But to understand the truth, we need to start with what happened when the United States Navy first encountered something that should exist. It was 1963, the height of the Cold War. Nuclear submarines prowled the depths like steel sharks, and every unusual sonar reading could mean the difference between peace and global annihilation. But on a routine patrol mission, the USS Thresher detected something that defied every law of physics they knew. A craft, roughly the size of a football field, ascending from the Puerto Rico Trench at a speed that should have torn any known material apart. No propulsion system, no heat signature, no sound. It simply rose from the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean. As if the crushing pressure and freezing temperatures meant nothing, the Thresher never made it home. Official reports blamed a mechanical failure, but classified documents tell a different story. A story of contact with something that had been waiting in the depths long before humans ever built their first submarine. And that contact changed everything. Because what the crew of the Thresher discovered wasn't just a single craft. It was evidence of an entire civilization that had been using our oceans as their domain for generations. A civilization that had been watching, waiting, and occasionally collecting. The disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle aren't random. They're not caused by natural phenomena or human error. They carefully orchestrated operations by an intelligence that has turned our deepest ocean trenches into their front yard. And tonight, we're going to explore the evidence that governments have spent decades trying to suppress. Evidence that will make you realize the ocean isn't just Earth's final frontier. It's someone else's territory. So before we dive deeper into waters that have claimed thousands of lives and hundreds of vessels, ask yourself this question. If something wanted to establish a base on Earth, would it choose the vast emptiness of space, where every movement can be tracked and every signal or would it choose the perfect hiding place, 3 miles beneath the surface of an ocean that covers 70% of our planet? The answer is about to surface, and it's more terrifying than anything you've ever imagined. In 1977, a janitor at the Pentagon made a discovery that would shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew about government transparency. While cleaning out a storage room scheduled for renovation, he found a box of documents marked with a classification level he'd never seen before. The stamp read, "Aquatic unknown, eyes only." Inside that box were hundreds of pages, detailing encounters between United States naval forces and what the military called unidentified, submerged objects. These weren't theoretical reports or speculative analysis. These were operational logs, sonar readings, and witness testimonies from some of the most decorated officers in naval history. The documents revealed that since 1952, the U.S. Navy had been tracking and engaging with underwater crafts that displayed technology far beyond anything in our arsenal. But more disturbing than the encounters themselves was the systematic cover-up that followed each incident. Let me take you inside one of these classified files. The incident report from the USS Eltanin in 1964. The ship was conducting deep-sea research in the South Atlantic when their sonar detected something massive moving beneath them. According to the official log, the object was roughly 800 feet in length and moving at speeds exceeding 150 knots underwater. For perspective, our fastest nuclear submarines can barely manage 40 knots submerged. The Eltanin sonar operator, Petty Officer James Morrison, described watching the object on his screen as it performed maneuvers that defied physics. It stopped instantly from maximum speed. It turned 90 degrees without any deceleration, and then it did something that made Morrison question his own sanity. It split into 3 separate objects, each maintaining the same impossible speed and maneuverability. Morrison filed his report according to standard protocol. Within 48 hours, he was transferred to a land-based assignment and sworn to secrecy under the National Security Act. His original sonar tapes disappeared from the ship's records. His testimony was classified at the highest levels, and officially, nothing unusual happened during the Eltanin's mission that day. But Morrison wasn't the only witness to have his life turned upside down by a USO encounter. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chun of the U.S. Springfield reported a similar incident in 1978. Her submarine was conducting routine patrols in the Caribbean when they encountered what she described as an underwater city. Through the periscope, Chun observed structures on the ocean floor that appeared to be artificially constructed. Geometric patterns too perfect to be natural, lights moving in organized formations, and, most unsettling of all, other crafts that seemed to be docking and undocking from these structures, like some kind of underwater harbor. Chun's report made it all the way to the Joint Chiefs of Staff before it vanished into the classified archives. She was quietly retired from active duty, with full honors and a pension that came with a very clear understanding. Silence was not optional. These individual cases might be dismissed as isolated incidents or misidentified natural phenomena. But the declassified documents reveal a pattern that's impossible to ignore. Between 1950 and 1990, the U.S. Navy documented over 400 encounters with USOS. Each incident followed the same template: initial contact and documentation, immediate classification, and witness isolation, and complete removal of all evidence from official records. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. The documents don't just describe encounters, they describe communication attempts. Starting in 1967, the Navy began deploying specialized equipment designed to establish contact with USO operators. These weren't random fishing expeditions. They were targeted operations based on intelligence that suggested these underwater visitors were not only aware of human naval activity, but actively monitoring it. The breakthrough came during Operation Deep Reach in 1969. A joint Navy and CIA mission deployed the experimental submarine NR-1 to the Puerto Rico Trench. Their objective was simple: make contact with whatever intelligence was operating from the deepest parts of the Atlantic Ocean. What they found exceeded their wildest expectations and their worst fears. The NR-1's crew reported discovering a facility on the ocean floor that appeared to be actively operational: lights, movement, and what sonar operators described as clear signs of intelligent activity. But when they attempted to approach, something approached them first. The official mission report describes an object roughly the size of a city block rising from the trench floor and positioning itself directly above the NR-1. For 17 minutes, the two crafts remained motionless, as if each was studying the other. Then something incredible happened. The crew began receiving what they could only describe as mental images, complex mathematical formulas, star charts showing solar systems they'd never seen, and a clear message that they were trespassing in territory that didn't belong to them. The NR-1 returned to the surface with data that revolutionized our understanding of what was possible. But it also returned with a warning. The intelligence they'd encountered was not hostile, but it was territorial. And humanity's expansion into the deep oceans was being carefully watched and, when necessary, controlled. This explains something that has puzzled maritime investigators for decades. Why do ships and aircraft disappear in the Bermuda Triangle, but debris is rarely found? Because they're not being destroyed. They're being collected, taken to underwater facilities where the occupants are studied, their technology analyzed, and their vessels added to a collection that spans decades. The government's response to these discoveries was swift and comprehensive. In 1971, President Nixon signed Executive Order 11,652, which created new classification levels specifically for encounters with non-human intelligence. The order established protocols for witness handling, evidence suppression, and media manipulation that are still in effect today. But the most chilling aspect of these classified files isn't what they reveal about USO activities. It's what they reveal about the agreement that was reached between world governments and the underwater intelligence. An agreement that traded human silence for technological advancement. An agreement that allowed continued USO operations in exchange for insights into propulsion systems, materials, science, and energy generation that have quietly revolutionized our military capabilities. The stealth technology that makes our aircraft invisible to radar, the advanced sonar systems that allow our submarines to operate in complete silence, the materials that can withstand crushing ocean depths and extreme temperatures. None of these innovations came from human research and development. They came from reverse engineering technology recovered from USO encounter sites. And the price for this technological leap forward was simple. Governments agreed to maintain the cover-up, to dismiss USO sightings as natural phenomena or equipment malfunctions, to relocate or silence witnesses who got too close to the truth, and to allow the underwater intelligence to continue their operations without interference. This agreement has held for over 50 years. But recently, something has changed. The number of USO encounters has increased dramatically. The underwater intelligence has become more active, more visible, and more willing to make contact with civilian vessels and aircraft. It's as if they're preparing for something, or testing humanity's readiness for something much bigger. In 1987, marine geologist Dr. Robert Ballard made a discovery that would rewrite the textbooks on deep ocean exploration. While mapping the seafloor near the Puerto Rico Trench, his team's deep-sea submersible captured sonar readings that defied geological explanation. Structures on the ocean floor that appeared artificial. Too geometric to be natural. Too organized to be random. But when Ballard attempted to publish his findings, he was contacted by officials who made it very clear that his research had stumbled into classified territory. The sonar images were confiscated. His research notes were sealed under national security provisions. And Dr. Ballard was quietly reassigned to projects that kept him far away from the deepest parts of the Atlantic. What Ballard had discovered was evidence of something that intelligence agencies had suspected for decades. The Bermuda Triangle wasn't just a hunting ground for USO, it was home to them. The Puerto Rico Trench is the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean. At its lowest point, it plunges over 28,000 feet below sea level. That's deeper than Mount Everest is tall. At those depths, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at sea level. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and no sunlight has ever penetrated that darkness. It's also the perfect place to hide a civilization. Consider the logistics. If you wanted to establish a base of operations on a planet dominated by a primitive species, where would you locate it? Somewhere easily accessible to that species, or somewhere completely beyond their reach, where their most advanced technology could barely survive long enough to take a quick look around. The evidence suggests they chose the latter. And the evidence is hiding in the testimonies of the few humans who have descended deep enough to see what is really down there. Captain Mitchell Harrison commanded the deep-sea research vessel Custo during a classified mission in 1991. His objective was to investigate acoustic anomalies detected by Navy listening posts throughout the Caribbean. What he found at a depth of 22,000 feet changed his understanding of what was possible. Harrison described structures that stretched across the ocean floor like an underwater city. Not ruins of some ancient civilization, but active, operational facilities with clear signs of ongoing activity. Lights moving in patterns that suggested traffic flow. Geometric shapes that pulsed with energy. And crafts that moved between these structures with the same impossible speed and maneuverability that USOs had displayed on the surface. But the most unsettling discovery came when Harrison's submersible was approached by one of these underwater crafts. Through the porthole, he observed beings working inside the craft. Humanoid in shape, but clearly not human. They seemed to be studying his vessel with the same curiosity that he was studying theirs. Then something happened that Harrison still can't fully explain. His communications equipment, which should have been completely isolated from any external signals, began receiving transmissions, not in any human language, but in mathematical sequences and geometric patterns that somehow conveyed meaning directly to his mind. The message was simple, but profound. This was their domain. had been for far longer than humans had existed as a species. And while they weren't hostile to human presence, they weren't going to tolerate interference with their operations. Harrison's mission report was classified at levels so high that even he was unallowed to retain a copy. But the intelligence community now knew with certainty that the ocean floor of the Bermuda Triangle housed an operational base belonging to a non-human intelligence. This discovery explained phenomena that had puzzled investigators for decades. The magnetic anomalies reported throughout the triangle weren't caused by natural deposits or geological formations. They were the electromagnetic signature of technology so advanced that it interfered with human navigation and communication systems. The sudden fog banks that appeared without weather patterns to explain them weren't natural phenomena. They were concealment systems designed to hide USO operations from surface observation. And the complete disappearance of aircraft and vessels, leaving no debris or distress signals, finally made sense. These weren't accidents or equipment failures. They were controlled extractions carried out by an intelligence that had perfected the art of making things vanish without a trace. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of the underwater base theory is what it suggests about the scope of the operation. Marine surveys conducted by various research institutions have identified similar anomalies at deep ocean sites around the world. The Mariana Trench in the Pacific, the Puerto Rico Trench in the Atlantic, the Java Trench in the Indian Ocean. Each location shows the same characteristics: artificial structures, organized activity, and technology that operates far beyond human capabilities. This isn't a single base. It's a global network. Dr. Elena Vasquez, marine biologist who worked with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, stumbled upon evidence of this network during a routine deep research mission in 1995. Her team was studying thermal vents in the mid-Atlantic ridge when their equipment detected something that should unexist at those depths: organized sound patterns, complex acoustic signatures that resembled communication protocols. When Vasquez analyzed the recordings, she realized she was listening to conversations. Not human conversations, but exchanges of information between multiple sources located at various points throughout the Atlantic Ocean. The acoustic patterns suggested a communication network that spanned thousands of miles of ocean floor. Vasquez's research was immediately classified, and she was transferred to land-based projects. But her discovery provided crucial intelligence about the true scope of the underwater civilization. They weren't isolated to the Bermuda Triangle. They had established operational bases throughout the world's deepest ocean trenches, connected by a communication network that allowed real-time coordination of global activities. This global network explains why encounters have been reported in virtually every major body of water on Earth: the Mediterranean Sea, the North Sea, the Sea of Japan, Lake Superior, even landlocked bodies of water that connect to underground aquifer systems. Wherever there's sufficient depth to conceal operations, there's evidence of USO activity. But the most disturbing aspect of recent intelligence isn't what's been discovered about the underwater bases. It's what's been discovered about their expansion. Satellite, imagery analysis, and deep ocean sonar mapping suggests that the facility network has grown significantly in recent years. New construction, expanded operations, and increased traffic between bases. Something is building down there, something that requires more space, more resources, and more coordination than ever before. And the increased USO activity on the surface isn't random exploration or casual observation. It's reconnaissance. They're gathering intelligence about human coastal defenses, naval capabilities, and population centers. The question that keeps intelligence analysts awake at night isn't whether the underwater civilization exists. The evidence for that is overwhelming. The question is what they're preparing for, and whether humanity is ready for what's coming next. Because if the recent increase in activity is any indication, the age of hidden operations and secret agreements is coming to an end. The underwater intelligence is preparing to make themselves known. And when they do, everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe is going to change forever. March 15, 2024. The cargo ship Stellar Horizon vanished 200 miles northeast of this. Unlike the historical disappearances that took days or weeks to investigate, this one was different. The ship's final transmission was broadcast live on maritime radio channels, heard by dozens of vessels in the area. Captain Maria Santos described something rising from the depths, something massive. Her final words were chilling. "It's not a ship. It's not a submarine. God help us, it's something else entirely." The Stellar Horizon carried a crew of 23 and a cargo manifest that included advanced computer systems, satellite communication equipment, and marine research technology. The ship vanished without a trace, but this time, there were witnesses. Multiple vessels reported seeing a glow beneath the water's surface, moments before the cargo ship's radio went silent. The Coast Guard response was immediate and unprecedented. Within hours, the area was declared a hazardous navigation zone. Military vessels established a perimeter, and civilian ships were rerouted away from the coordinates where the stellar horizon had last been seen. But the military response revealed something far more troubling than a simple search and rescue operation. The vessels deployed weren't equipped for rescue. They were equipped for combat. Destroyers with advanced sonar systems, submarines with deep water capability, and aircraft carrying detection equipment designed to track underwater targets. The government knew exactly what had taken the stellar horizon, and they were prepared for war. This wasn't an isolated incident. Intelligence reports from the past 18 months paint a disturbing picture of escalating USO activity worldwide. The frequency of encounters has increased by over 400%. The size of reported crafts has grown significantly. And for the first time in recorded history, USOs have begun surfacing in populated coastal areas during daylight hours. In September 2024, hundreds of witnesses in San Diego reported seeing a massive object emerge from the Pacific Ocean just 2 miles from shore. The craft remained on the surface for nearly 20 minutes before submerging again. Cell phone videos captured the incident, but within hours, those videos began disappearing from social media platforms. Witnesses received visits from federal agents who suggested that sharing their experiences might not be in their best interests. The pattern is clear. The underwater intelligence is no longer hiding. They're announcing their presence, and they're testing human response capabilities. But why now? What has changed after decades of secret operations and hidden agendas? The answer lies in something that ocean researchers have been tracking for years, but have you been allowed to discuss publicly. The deep ocean thermal vents that have served as power sources for the underwater facilities are changing. Seismic activity in the deepest trenches has increased dramatically, and the chemical composition of deep ocean water near known USO sites shows signs of massive energy consumption. The underwater civilization isn't just expanding their operations, they're preparing to leave, and they're taking everything with them. The implications are staggering. For over 70 years, human technological advancement has been secretly guided by reverse-engineered USO technology. Our stealth aircraft, our advanced materials, our deep-sea exploration capabilities, even our satellite communication systems have been built on foundations provided by the underwater intelligence. If they're preparing to abandon their Earth-based operations, humanity could find itself technologically stranded, cut off from the knowledge source that has been quietly driving our development for generations. But there's another possibility, one that explains the recent surge in surface activity and the military's combat-ready response. The underwater intelligence might not be leaving Earth. They might be preparing to claim it. Think about the strategic advantage they've maintained for decades. Complete knowledge of human military capabilities, bases positioned at the deepest points of every major ocean, technology that makes our most advanced weapons obsolete, and detailed intelligence on every coastal population center on the planet. If the underwater civilization decided that the time for coexistence had ended, humanity would face an enemy that we're completely unprepared to fight. An enemy that controls the oceans that cover 70% of our planet. An enemy that has been studying our weaknesses for generations, while we've even kept ignorant of their very existence. The recent USO activity isn't random. It's reconnaissance for something much larger. They're mapping our current defenses, testing our response times, and evaluating our technological capabilities. The question isn't whether something is coming. The question is whether we'll be ready when it arrives. But here's what the government doesn't want you to know. You have power in this situation. Your awareness, your questions, your refusal to accept the official explanations for phenomena that clearly defy conventional understanding. Every time you share information about USO encounters, you're breaking the wall of silence that has protected this cover-up for decades. Every time you question the official explanations for unexplained disappearances, you're forcing transparency on agencies that have operated in complete secrecy. The underwater intelligence has been watching us for generations. But we can watch back. We can document. We can investigate. And we can refuse to remain ignorant. While decisions that affect the future of humanity are made in classified briefing rooms by people who have kept us in the dark for 70 years. The age of secrets is ending. The question is whether it ends with disclosure or with something far more catastrophic. If you've made it this far, you're part of something important. You're part of a growing community of people who refuse to accept that we're alone in the universe, and who demand answers about what's really happening in our oceans. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, because the story you've just heard is only the beginning. We're going to keep investigating. We're going to keep asking questions. And we're going to keep sharing information that powerful people don't want you to have. Share this video with everyone you know. Comment below with your own experiences or encounters. And remember that every person who learns the truth is one more person who can be kept in the dark when the time comes for humanity to face whatever is rising from the depths. The truth is down there, 3 miles beneath the surface of our oceans, and it's been watching us for far longer than we've been watching the skies. The question is, are you ready to look back? Hit that subscribe button, share this video, and join us as we dive deeper into mysteries that governments have spent decades trying to hide, because the truth about what's in our oceans is about to surface, and when it does, you'll want to be ready.